Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks, with your hosts, Monica, Susan, Hi, we are Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks. I'm Monica.
And I'm Susan.
We switched it up on you.
Could you tell?
Obviously.
Well, visually. But
Visually. Well, because we look so much alike.
I know. We're Twinkies.
Yeah.
Welcome to our podcast today. And what a fine day it is today.
It's always a fine day for Susan. It's a fine day.
It's a fine day, have ya? Yeah, so, in thinking about what we should cover next, I thought, one of the neat places to cover is one of our national parks, and it is Hot Springs National Park. Now, before you stop listening, I, too, was one of the many out there that was like, Hot Springs? That's usually out of the 63 big national parks. It's usually number 62 or 63.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah, that people want to go to. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's an interesting park. It's you think about, when you think about.
Question number one. I'm sorry. Can you get in the hot springs?
Not outdoors.
But there are springs nearby.
You
could utilize.
You can have a feel of the hot springs water indoors.
Okay, then I'd go.
Yeah, so normally at the bottom of people's lists to go to, if you're going to repeat going to a big national park, again, like the Zions, Yellowstones, those, right? Generally speaking, Hot Springs is towards the bottom, and generally speaking, Gateway Arch is also towards the bottom.
Because Gateway Arch you can see like from a million miles away, and you're like,
it's an
arch.
There?
Yeah,
it's an arch. So Hot Springs is usually at the bottom, but I've been on my quest to see many different places on our NPS list, right? So there's 433. It's one of the 433. So I'm like, I'm going to go with an open mind.
Sure.
And by golly, I went, and it was in July. So I can tell you from a perspective of when people go in July to Hot Springs. Now,
it's hot?
Because Hot Springs is not only hot. Hot Springs is in Arkansas.
Very hot?
And humid. Did I mention that hot springs are humid?
Well, I would imagine they are.
Yeah, so, but it was, each time I've gone, it's always been, I've been on my way to somewhere else, because one of my favorite parks is the Great Smoky Mountains, which we will cover at some point. But it's like halfway to the Smoky Mountains, so that's why I end up stopping in Hot Springs to check out Hot Springs and do a little hike while I'm there, so. But anyhow, so that's where it's at. So Hot Springs, and it's not that far outside of Little Rock, so that's another reason why it gets like 2.4 million visitors a year.
Okay, that's significant.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
And I've discovered why. So if you're sleeping on Hot Springs, if you're sleeping on it, I would say get up and go. And go because there are a lot of outdoor activities you can do there.
Okay, you had confused me for a minute because you're like sleeping on the hot springs. I was like,
no, not physically sleeping on the hot springs.
Where would you do that? You mean...
Get with the lingo, Monica.
You mean if you're putting it off?
Yes.
Okay. We understand.
Translated, yes. So if you're sleeping on them or putting them off because you're like, nobody says it's exciting, I think you should go. And you should go because it's actually kind of a pretty cool place. And there's lots of, as I said, a lot of outdoor activities to do.
Cool.
So it covers like 5,500 acres. So it's not small.
That's pretty big.
But here's the deal, because I think it cheats. So the way that it's shaped, like if you ever look at Hot Springs National Park on a map, picture like a donut, but like squish it a little and turn it on its side a little bit.
Okay.
And in the center of where your center of your donut would be, that space is like the city of Hot Springs.
Oh.
So it's really a park.
Around the city?
Around the city.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Well, it's a little confusing.
Well, yeah, I could see why that would be confusing.
Because if you're just there for the dime tour, which, some people just show up and go, oh, let me go see the bathhouses because that's what they're known for. The bathhouses, that's kind of like on a main street. Mm-hmm. You miss some of the great parts about that park, which are the further out overlooks that they have, some of the trails that go up, some of the recreational areas that are what I consider the west side. So that's why I'm like, if you've ever heard people talk about hot springs and were like, not a place I really want to go, it may be just because they went to Bathhouse Row and they just saw what that was and really didn't do much else.
So probably, I'm guessing most people do that because that's what they know, and it must be geographically awkward to visit that park.
Yeah, you have to drive around to some parts of it.
Yeah,
But that's
'cause
why
it sounds weird.
the most accessible place, like when you come in, because the Bathhouse Row is on like the main street, right? There's a parking garage that makes everything easily accessible. So easy to park at the parking garage, walk across the street, and then go visit the bathhouses. Now, not all bathhouses are open and are actual bathhouses. I think there's one that's been open for like a good long run, but they're not all open as bathhouses. But you go to the main visitor center and you can tour what was a bathhouse back in the day. You can really see these bathhouses and how they functioned, and like the beds or the spa areas that they were at, or the what they call them, the steam room, but kind of think about it like a sauna. But there were these people that were put into individual little things they sat in, and they had these metal things that closed around them, and they would steam their bodies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not their heads.
Right.
Just their bodies. Yeah. So the Bathhouse Row is really what most people probably go there for, but there are like 26 miles of hiking trails out there. So I've always said this about Arkansas, and I believe that northern Arkansas, when you kind of get Little Rock and north, it's like the prettiest because you get into more of the tall trees and that kind of visual. This has some of that. There are a lot of trees that are out there as well when you go off on some of these hikes, so it's really pretty. What?
I'm sorry. When you said, I can't get it out of my head.
Sleeping?
No. When you said that, like, they had the metal,
Yes.
they,
I will have a picture if I haven't
she
shown it
made
yet.
me start playing this game called Heyday, okay? If any of you play it, it's ridiculously stupid.
But it's addicting.
But there are the pigs. You feed the pigs. And to get the bacon from them, it puts them in little metal saunas and steams the bacon out of them. I'm sorry. I'm completely off tangent.
But if you play Heyday, you know exactly what she's talking about.
But I can't stop laughing. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So anyhow, so let's go back if we could, before we go through the tour of the bathhouse. So again, this is another place where the indigenous folks were here long before anybody else, right? And they discovered these springs and realized that there was a healing property to these hot springs.
Makes sense, yes.
Because the water, I think, comes out like I don't know, it's like 143 degrees, and depending upon where it trickles down to, it gets to be where you can actually be in the spring. And so they found these, healing properties and stuff. And of course, eventually, the Europeans come and go, ooh, hold it, there's something really cool here. And then the Europeans are like, oh, we'll give it to Spain. And then Spain's like, oh, we're giving it back. And then did the Louisiana Purchase, right? So then the United States owns it. And we're like, hey, we should protect that land because it's got healing properties. Those springs are healing properties. So the indigenous folks were like, oh, what about us? Yeah. So that kind of took care of that. But they initially protected like 4 miles of these springs for public use. And, again, it's eventually become, all these acres, 5,500 acres. But what I found interesting is that 1 million U.S. gallons, like 1 million gallons of water flows from these springs each day.
Wow.
1 million.
That's crazy.
Well, and when I think about when we did Balmoral and we talked about Balmoral, that's like a smidgen.
That's a fraction of that.
Of what hot springs does.
Yes.
So anyhow, it was important to the indigenous folks because of the healing properties. But just to show kind of how old this was, they had scientific folks that did radiocarbon dating of the water. I did not know you could do. I didn't know you could do.
I didn't know you could do radiocarbon dating of a liquid.
Does anybody understand that? Can you do that? I guess you can because they did. But I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I thought you had to have something materialistic to. Well, I guess you're breaking down the molecules of something solid. I mean,
Oh,
we're no
look-
scientists, okay? So
Obviously, we play
Yeah.
A Day.
yeah.
We're retired. It's okay.
So I guess if you took the liquid and broke it down into, it's distinct. I guess.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I mean, I guess in my head, I've always thought radiocarbon dating on a rock, on a bone, on a,
on the Shroud of
thing.
Turin. That's,
Yeah, right. Something like that.
Something like that.
But anyhow, so they did that, and they established that the water that you see in the springs is actually 4,400 years old.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Wow. Because it's constantly recycling?
So it's rainwater that fell 4,400 years ago that eventually comes through because it goes, it's coming through a spring, so it's getting down to the Earth's crust or whatever and coming back up and becoming a spring.
That definitely blew my mind.
It blew my mind too because
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the radiocarbon dating.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish there was somebody scientific watching this that could
Please.
explain that to us. I know there's probably not, but if you know anybody that can explain that to us in the comments, please do. That would be awesome because I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I am shocked and amazed by that information.
4,400 years ago, that rain fell.
I'm guessing it smells sulfurous.
I didn't notice a smell. And the neat thing about the park is that you can walk right by these springs, and it is hot and humid, especially when it's already hot and humid.
How did you survive, Susan?
Oh my gosh, I have a picture of me. Maybe I will share this picture of me. I am standing in front of a hot spring, hot. And it was amazing that as you got close, how hot it felt.
Wow.
Because, and there's just steam. You see the steam coming up and off. But, yeah, it was hot. So, anyhow. But when you go and visit, so most people, as I said, go to the Bathhouse Row, and there's like 8 turn-of-the-century historic buildings that are managed by the MPS. Now, they partner with folks on what the uses of these buildings are, but like I said, one of the bathhouses, the Fordyce Bathhouse, is restored, and it is the park visitor center, so you definitely want to go there. And I say you want to go there because, well, aside from the fact you get your lovely brochure. What?
No, please, go on. No, go, continue.
But you also get, hold on, gotta get these off the
When
table.
were you there last?
2 years ago. So then you also get these. So remember I said it was kind of like a donut? So there's a west side, and then there's what they call the mountain and north mountain. I call it east and west because it really looks east and west to me on the map. But these are all the trails. So you can pick these up at the visitor center. These are
Nice.
really helpful.
Yes.
What were you
I'm
going to
sure.
say, snarkiness?
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm not being judgy at all.
It sounded like something judgy was coming. But anyhow, so go to the visitor center and talk to the rangers. You also want to do the tour because, as I said, so you go through the tour, you see the places where, and remember, these were well-to-do folks that were coming into this place and having their spa treatment. Essentially, it was a spa treatment
Right,
kind of thing,
sure.
right? The big deal were the attendants that were there. So, and most of them were African Americans. The vast majority, like probably 95% of them were African Americans. So you had attendants, and then you had helpers for the attendants, and they hardly got paid anything. I think the attendant got maybe 35 cents, not even an hour. I think that was maybe for a day or a bath. I don't
That makes
even know.
sense. Yeah, it sounds
But
right.
and of course the helper got less. But they were taking you through your stages and stuff. So they had, the beds where, you got your massages, or they had the steam room that we talked about. They had these showers. These showers were pretty fascinating, and I have a picture for that. It was like they had like the jets coming out everywhere, like because you were getting jetted
Right.
by the hot springs water.
Yeah, that makes
It's
sense.
pretty cool.
That is cool. I do love a good spa.
Well, I don't know that this is the spa
Well,
you're looking for.
I know, but I like a good spa. I do.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, one of the, when you travel, I think as we get older, there are things that you want to get as souvenirs, but really what you want to do is do something really memorable while you're traveling.
Experience.
And one of the things that I love to do is to find a really good spa somewhere, and because those things aren't cheap. They're not cheap. And if you can fork over the money and just have a day where you relax, but you're doing something that's that's culturally, you're using whatever,
Connected.
connected to wherever you are, even better. Even better.
Yeah.
So,
So when you asked earlier, can you get in the springs? Not outdoors, but indoors. There are a couple places that you can like make an appointment
perfect.
to take a dip in the springs.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can do that. Now, I don't think it's the whole spa treatment,
Sure.
but you can at least get the feel of the springs.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really cool too is, of course, they have a visitor center with a store and all. You can buy jugs, empty jugs, because they have stations where you can actually bottle hot springs water in a jug. Did we do it? Did we do it?
Yeah, of course you did.
Sure, we did. But that sucker got warm. That was warm water. So it's not like you really wanted to drink it, but it tasted fine. But there are different places that you can go get. They have places you can just turn on a spigot and basically fill up a jug. It's free. Anybody can do it with anything you want to fill up, but you can buy the jug. So we did. But they also have now. Just real quick on the warm springs, the hot springs ones that you can fill up, you don't have to worry about bacteria because it's so hot that there's really no bacteria that's growing in them.
Everything's
so it's
dead.
fine. But they also have cold springs that you can also fill up like water bottles and stuff.
Oh.
Now on the cold springs, there is minimal treatment, that as minimal as they can do to make sure it's drinkable water. But because it's cold, they have to do some level of treatment, so they do that, and so the water that you're getting from those are also good water to drink.
Interesting. So you can drink the water from the hot springs.
Essentially, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, go figure.
Not sure that I would do that.
I wouldn't drink warm water.
It's not even that. It's the idea that you're drinking something that's 44 million years old. That's the part that I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's really cool. I don't know that I would drink it. I don't know.
I hadn't thought about it that way. I'd be drinking 4,400-year-old water, but
4,400 years, 44 million years. It's the same.
it's old.
It's old water.
It's older than anything I got. But so you can go fill these up, and I thought that's kind of a neat little thing that you can go do, because did I mention it's hot?
Yes.
It's hot there, so you need some water.
That.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically you can go through some of those bathhouses. You can see some of how they did these spa treatments and all. But there was a lot of, if you go to the website, there's a lot of appreciation of the attendants that spent their days, sometimes 9-10 hour days, in these spas.
Oh my gosh.
That were like 95 to 100 degrees every day.
Yeah.
I bet they had flawless skin, though, because they're constantly in steam. I mean, seriously. I mean, I could not live in a job. I could not do a job like that.
Who thinks of that?
Well, I'm just
I bet their skin was flawless. Well, they were dying in there, but yes, their skin... Mwah.
Well, I wasn't going that far, but... Anyhow.
I'm sorry. I have the total giggles today, and I don't know why. I'm sorry. But please, go on.
Yeah, so that's kind of it when you go and you check it out. Now, from the bathhouses, get in your car, take some of the drives. They have scenic drives out there that you can kind of go up on a mountain and kind of get a little bit of an overlook and take a look at the city of Hot Springs and some of the surrounding areas. Again, then you want to get in your car and drive west. But can I tell you a story?
Oh, please.
So, here I am. I'm doing one of the hikes. I'm doing just one of the walks right now. I was doing the Grand Promenade walk. It's like, I don't know, half mile, 3/4 mile, something like that. But it kind of goes behind the bathhouses. And it's really nice. It's got benches, tree-lined, bricks. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, again, I went in July. I would think it's prime season. So I'm just walking, got my camera, taking pictures, getting hot by the hot spring, life going on. And I happened to pass a girl and just, hey, because that's what you do. You say, hey, to whoever's walking in front of you, walking by you, and walk. And then I'm turning around and coming back. And I ran into her again. And she's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm like, it's a stranger talking to me. I was scared. But she starts telling me about this place that's nearby in Ouachita. It's near the Ouachita Forest, Ouachita area, something like that. And she's like, yeah, you should go out there and take this drive. It's really cool. It's really scenic. And, especially if you're into hiking and things like that and you're into the nature stuff, it's a really cool place to go. And I'm like, I'm going to go do it. I did it.
Did you?
I got scared out of my wits because did she happen to mention it's a one-way.
Oh.
So you always have to be in. If you're going to take advice from anybody out there in the wild, be careful. So I like a full go, and then I turn off to go onto this forest road, and it literally is a forest road. It's one way. It is gravelly. I'm glad I'm in a 4-wheel drive, and like slopes off to nothing on either side.
It's like Trail Ridge Road in the Rocky Mountain National Park.
But
Maybe.
But the trees are right at the road.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going anywhere but off the road and into a tree.
Yeah.
And once you're on it,
There's no getting off. Yeah.
And the funny thing is I did a video before I went too far, and I'm like, if this is the last video anybody ever sees of me, just know I had fun up to this point, but it scared the bejeebies out of me.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so.
Well, but those are like, so you still remember that, and that is like an intrinsic memory of your trip there. You know,
Yes.
That's, Trail Ridge Road is maybe, I don't know if it's that harrowing, but it's,
It's
there are
pretty.
there are points when you're like, I can't turn back. So you have to kind of keep going. And there was something else. There was another road that's kind of like that. Well, no, when I was in Santa Fe last year, the people that I was watching their house for, they were like, oh, you should go up this mountain road and see the aspen. What I didn't know was that they were working on the road, so they had removed all the asphalt. So it was like all gravel, 11 miles up. But I had my Outback.
You were ready.
So yeah, I went up about 7 or 8 of the miles, and I saw a lot of the aspens. But that was a 2-way.
Yeah.
Still kind of sketchy.
I would have
sketchy, but
I would have preferred a 2-way because there was a point on that because there wasn't cell service in this foresty area. There was a point that I was like, I think I hear banjos. I don't know. I was getting a little scared. And then somebody came up behind me, and I'm like, I'm not speeding up because I'm scared.
Is that an impatient? I hate that.
So I'm trying to pull over as far as I can, but did I mention it slopes off to nothing on either side? So I'm like, I can only pull off so far.
Yeah,
They
I hate
eventually
that.
got around.
Yeah, I can't stand that when people are
No.
like, "Why are you in a hurry when you're going up a one-way gravel road?"
Exactly.
What are you in a hurry about? Just take your time and
Exactly.
enjoy the scenery and don't die.
Tell him, Monica.
That's your goal. Doggone it.
Enjoy the scenery and don't die.
That's right.
That's our motto. So anyhow,
We're
that
gonna
was
add
just
that.
something else to do out in the area. It was an interesting experience. But Hot Springs, I will say, it's a place that if I go back again, because I've been a couple times now, if I go back again, I would do more hiking on the west side. Because that's, I think, a little bit more scenic, and you're not in the hustle and bustle as much of the city. Because some of the hikes that are right around the bathhouses and stuff like that, you're still kind of in the city. Even the scenic road that you take that's right off of where the Bathhouse Row is, you're kind of like near a neighborhood. You see houses and stuff. So it's not like this grandeur of, mountains and forests and stuff. Until you get to the top, and then you see some pretty
So those
sights.
are more on the east side of the
Yeah.
of the park,
Or
and
what
then
they would call mountains and east. Yeah.
okay.
So
Well,
that would
that
be my
sounds good.
suggestion. Yeah.
Lots of hikes to do, lots of stuff to see.
Yeah, plenty of hikes, and definitely take your sticks, water, because it is hot. If I haven't mentioned that 100 million times, please take your water because you need a snack too. So make sure you take some salty snacks.
Always take snacks. Always take your water. Take more than you think you'll need.
Mm-hmm.
Dress for the weather.
Oh, yes.
There's checklists available, downloadable checklists. If you don't know, you go to the website, which we have listed down here somewhere, I think, and download the checklists. Yeah.
Yep.
Like
us, please.
Please like us.
We like you.
Subscribe.
I heart you.
Share. God, if you want a notification,
You can ring our bell. Ring it. Ring our
sure,
bell.
you can ring our bell. And you will get a little notification in an email letting you know when we put a new video out. But we try to put new videos out every Thursday at 10 in the morning.
10 Central Time.
Yep. So, if you can think of anything else.
Nope, but please engage with us. Let us
Yeah,
know what your favorite
drop some
part is.
comments down there.
Especially if you've been to Hot Springs. I'm curious to know what you thought of it. Out of all the national parks that you've been to, what did you think about Hot Springs? Because I do think it's not at the bottom anymore.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So, we're going to say, enjoy the scenery, don't die,
Please,
and hike your own hike.
hike your own hike. And until next time,
Until next time.
we'll check you later.
Bye.
Bye.